President, I wish to speak on the legislation that is pending, the Creating American Jobs and Ending Offshoring Act, but also more generally on the issue of loss of jobs, particularly in the energy sector, as we go forward. When BP Solar closed its Frederick, Maryland plant earlier this year, 320 Americans saw their jobs sent overseas to China and India. Bloomberg said the announcement signaled the exodus of U.S. renewable energy jobs, which it obviously did. In fact, BP's solar move followed General Electric's closing of its Newark, Delaware solar panel plant. Evergreen Solar's shifting of hundreds of jobs from Danvers, Massachusetts to China, and Gamesa's shutting down of its wind turbine factory in western Pennsylvania. Given the broad enthusiasm for creating clean energy jobs, few seem to notice this alarming trend. But we can't afford to sit idly by as clean energy jobs steadily and stealthily move overseas. And so as we debate this Creating American Jobs and Ending Offshoring Act, which is pending in the Senate, or which is the majority leader is trying to bring forward for Senate consideration, and which I support, on the Senate also, in addition, to pass 3 common sense bipartisan measures that will enable the U.S. to retain existing clean energy jobs and capture millions of new ones that the burgeoning global demand for clean energy will soon create. To begin, let me dispel the myth that the U.S. cannot lead in producing clean energy technology. In fact, we once were the leader. As recently as 1997, we had a green trade surplus of $14.4 billion. By 2008, that surplus had become a deficit of nearly $8.9 billion. The reversal was triggered largely by a steep fall off in domestic renewable energy technology manufacturing. For instance, only a decade ago, U.S. solar cell manufacturers controlled 30% of the world market. By 2008, that had been reduced to 6%. Meanwhile, Chinese production had grown from non-existent in 1999 to 32% of the world total in 2008. And similarly, European manufacturers now account for more than 85% of global wind component manufacturing. Today, only one of the top 10 manufacturers is an American firm. What happened to bring about these changes? Simply put, other countries enacted policies to attract investments, both push incentives like tax incentives and direct subsidies to attract manufacturers, and pull incentives to create domestic demand. And as a result of the incentives that they enacted, China displaced the U.S. last year as the world's leading destination for clean energy investment. Its total investment was nearly twice that of the U.S. Measured as a share of gross domestic product, domestic clean energy investment places us, the United States, in the bottom half of the G20 countries. If the trend continues, we will fall further behind. Over the next 5 years, government investment in China and Japan and South Korea is expected to outstrip U.S. government investment 3-to-1. This public investment will drive trillions in private sector investment within those same countries. With global clean energy investments expected to reach $2.3 trillion by 2020, we cannot afford to delay measures that will ensure U.S. leadership in this area. We must look to create jobs across the clean energy value chain, from engineering to installation to sales. In particular, we must focus on manufacturing jobs, because failing to grow a domestic clean energy manufacturing base will result in trading our imported oil dependency for an imported clean energy component dependency. In fact, we're already seeing how shortages in renewable energy components and systems have slowed domestic renewable energy production. That as we've begun to see, offshoring manufacturing is quickly followed by offshoring of research and development capacity. To grow our manufacturing base, Congress needs to take decisive action this year to enact at a minimum the three common sense bipartisan measures I alluded to before. First, we must send the appropriate market signal by enacting the renewable energy standard that I have introduced, along with Senator Brownback. Expanding demand for clean energy is essential to raising demand for domestically produced goods. For instance, every gigawatt of installed wind capacity, that is roughly enough to power all the homes in Atlanta, is estimated to create about 4,300 jobs, more than 3/4 in manufacturing. European firms that now dominate U.S. wind turbine sales developed technical and marketing expertise by serving their own home markets first. Expanding domestic demand will enable American firms to catch up. As I indicated, Senator Brownback and I have introduced this legislation. We hope very much that in the short session of the Congress, after it be brought up and dealt with in a positive way. But a demand-side strategy for clean energy cannot suffice. We also need to focus on supplying on the supply side to ensure that policies spurring clean energy demand will not merely be filled by imports from overseas. So the second call is to expand the Advanced Energy Project, or Section 48C tax credit that we created as part of the Recovery Act. That credit allows qualified companies to claim a credit for up to 30% of the cost of creating, expanding, or re-equipping facilities to manufacture clean energy technologies. The Recovery Act authorized the Departments of Energy and Treasury to award $2.3 billion in tax credits. There were many success stories. That funding was way oversubscribed. The government received $10 billion in applications for the $2.3 billion in tax credits that were available under the Recovery Act. In December, I joined with Senators Hatch and Stabenow and Lugar in filing the America Clean Technology Manufacturing Leadership Act. That bill would add another $2.5 billion in tax credit allocation authority. President Obama has called for $5 billion additional funds to be made available in this way. The third of the initiatives that I wanted to focus on today is the need to address financing challenges that companies face in establishing onshore clean energy manufacturing facilities. 5 years ago, Congress created a loan guarantee program at the Department of Energy. But from its start, the program has faced bureaucratic delays. So far, there are only 14 loan guarantees that have been issued, all of them in the past 14 months, 10 within the last year. The Recovery Act promised to add $6 billion to the program, which would leverage about $60 billion in new loans for clean energy projects. Unfortunately, this Congress has seen fit to treat this funding as a piggy bank, and we've withdrawn $3.5 billion as offsets for unrelated purposes. We need to restore that funding. We need to restore it and also retool the loan guarantee program. The Energy Committee that I chair reported a bill that would create a robust successor to that program called the Clean Energy Deployment Administration, or CEDA. And I urge the Congress to enact that legislation as well. Alongside these three measures to retain and create clean energy manufacturing jobs, we also need to pass two important additional bipartisan packages. The Energy Committee has unanimously supported a bill to address the largest oil spill in our nation's history. The American people are waiting for us to enact it. We should do so as soon as possible. And the tax code is an increasingly important mechanism for delivering clean energy incentives. In fact, more than 3 in 5 federal dollars spent on energy are delivered through tax provisions. I'll return to the floor later this week to discuss a bipartisan package of incentives for clean renewable energy and energy efficiency, and I hope that that package will receive priority attention by the Congress before it adjourns as well. Mr. President, some have said the United States cannot regain its footing in the clean energy manufacturing arena. Those who doubt the potential of this sector and think that clean energy jobs can flow only to low-wage countries like China need only look at what's happened in Germany, where employment in the clean energy industry is second only to the nation's strong automotive industry. We are deservedly proud of our nation's tradition as a leader in research and development, in innovation, and in venture-backed investing. With the right policies, we can guarantee that clean technology investment will come to our shores. Let's enact the job-creating legislation pending in the Senate today, and then move swiftly to enact legislation creating a renewable electricity standard and a clean generation and expanding the Section 48C credit. President, I yield the floor.